Welcome to the MSDW podcast. I'm Jason Gumpert, editor at msdynamicsworld.com. On this episode, we are talking with Bob McAdam and Joe Alt of Cavallo, all about Dynamics GP and Cavallo's commitment to the product. This episode is sponsored by Cavallo, and we're going to talk about both the company's roadmap for their GP solution, and we're going to get Bob and Joe's outlook on Microsoft's latest GP guidance. We discuss order management best practices, Cavallo's partnership with WennSoft. We get an update on the company's event plans for 2023 and more. All right, I am here with Joe Alt and Bob McAdam from Cavallo. It's great to have both of you with us. Why don't we start with a bit of an introduction from each of you to just introduce you to our listeners in case they aren't familiar with you. And Joe, maybe you could go first here as sort of the, as you described it, the podcasting newcomer.
Thanks, Jason. My name's Joe Alt. I've been with Cavallo for 13 years, and I started off in the development side for a number of years, and about 4 years ago, switched over to sales and been doing that. My title is officially the Vice President of our Great Plains Division, and excited to be here today.
Excellent. Glad to have you. And hey, Bob, welcome back to the podcast. I think you've been with us before. I mean, I hear you on podcasting so often. Maybe I'm forgetting the last time you actually were with us here, but great to have you.
It has been a while, but thanks, Jason. It's great to be here. So I'm Bob McAdam, Vice President of Strategic Partnerships here at Cavallo. I've only been here 2 years, not 13 like Joe, but this, believe it or not, is my 26th year in the Dynamics GP space, hard to believe. And I get to work with all of our reseller partners and a few alliance partners as well. And it's highly enjoyable, to say the least. It's a great community.
Great to have both of you here. And I think maybe anyone listening is getting a bit of a hint with the GP focus or the GP experience, I should say, of both of you, that we are going to talk GP today in the context of this conversation and what Cavallo's outlook on GP is and how it impacts products and what the roadmaps are like and all that, and what the GP landscape more generally, I think, is looking like, which is always fun. It remains one of the most interesting, to me anyway, topics in the Microsoft business applications space. It's always an interesting theme. Yeah, why don't we start with just a little bit of more background on what Cavallo's GP roadmap looks like, or what the state of work on GP is for your organization?
We have quite a bit of stuff going on in our GP space, and I think today I'll probably just focus on two of the bigger pieces and maybe talk about one of the smaller ones later on. But for us, it really starts off with our flagship product, which is our Salespad product. And inside of there, it's a desktop application. And we really are focused inside of there of being the best in the world at order management. And when you start to think about order management, orders come from many different places. They come from EDI, from e-commerce, from your mobile phone, and just manually entering. But for us, one of the places that we've really put on a roadmap is on the e-commerce side. And so Cavallo has an integration to Shopify, to WooCommerce, and then also to, never know what to call it, Adobe or Magento. It's called Adobe now. So with those three, we're pulling down your orders from your retail website and processing those through the system. We've been doing that for a while, but some of the new features is that we now have added functionality to be able to void those orders out. So in case you decide to cancel that order for any particular reason, maybe the customer contacts you a different method or you deem it as fraud. And then the other part with the e-commerce side is we're allowing those orders to come in and get split apart. So maybe you're shipping that order out in multiple different shipments. And so now we're going to pass up that payment information multiple different times, pass up multiple different tracking numbers, and then complete that order out at the end. So pretty significant additions to those three e-commerce integrations.
So this is, to me anyway, I mean, commerce is such an interesting and evolving area just generally, and where commerce sits next to ERP systems like a GP. It's really about your product really kind of taking over that order management responsibility and connecting it to these different channels of commerce. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. If you think about any part of your omni-channel of how orders come into play, we really want those orders to come into the system and then have you be able to manage those efficiently inside of Cavallo. And e-commerce is obviously a big part of that and growing every day for many people.
Mm-hmm. Another news item anyway that's notable here is a new partnership. And just for a bit of context, I think when we started talking about things to kind of bring up as we talked today, it was about the partnership with Key to Act. it's now not Key to Act anymore because of a very recent acquisition. It's now WennSoft, right? So can you talk about the partnership there?
Yeah, sure. Let me just say quickly, with my GP advocacy hat on instead of my Cavallo employee hat on, that it is so nice to hear that a GP ISV is busy working on development around Dynamics GP. You just don't hear that as much anymore. And when Joe says we have a lot going on with our Dynamics GP development and maintaining support and new functionality for the product, he's not kidding. It's great to hear, and I will never get tired of that personally. So to your question around WennSoft. So WennSoft, formerly Key to Act, formerly WennSoft, was recently acquired by a company outside of Toronto called Valeris Group. And they've got some wind in their sails now, and I feel pretty optimistic about their future. What's interesting to me with WennSoft and Cavallo is that they have so many things in common, right? Both companies hitch their subject matter expertise to Dynamics GP. In our case, it was 20 years ago this year. In their case, it's been more than 20 years. And both ISVs have deep operational module expertise that has sold a lot of core Dynamics GP over the years. And we've asked our customers about their future, and a lot of our customers, not just a handful or a small percentage, but a high percentage of them, for the time being, want to stay on Dynamics GP because they like what we're delivering for them here at Cavallo with our Salespad solution. And the same is true with WennSoft, right? They have deep operational expertise with job costing for the construction industry, as well as service management. And their customers have spent a lot of time and effort deploying their expertise, their modules against Dynamics GP. And they don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon. I'm not saying never. I'm saying for the foreseeable future, they're likely to be WennSoft customers, much like our customers on GP are likely to be Cavallo Salespad customers. So when I got here 2 years ago, knowing how these two companies have so much in parallel, I went to our chief strategy officer, Matt Abbott, and I went to our development team. And I'm like, we need a bridge that connects our offerings because these two companies are likely going to be very sticky with Dynamics GP for a long time. And we had a few customers in common that had one-off integrations to do certain things. But I'm like, we need a connector that bridges these two together so that those that, run WennSoft products and want to use our sales and procurement and workflow engine expertise, they can have that bridge and they can also maintain segregation of duties at the same time. People in sales and procurement in WennSoft and Cavallo customers together can stay over there and they won't need to be in Dynamics GP in job maintenance or service management. So to me, it made complete sense to get those two together. Our sales piece is done. Our procurement piece is done. So our prowess around those areas integrated to our workflow engine is ready for sale. And those on the WennSoft side that don't have our sales and procurement tools can now deploy them and have this bridge. And we're working on inventory management piece right now. And that should be done, I'd say, by the middle of 2023. So we're excited to have a bridge that allies with a company like WennSoft because, like Cavallo, they have a lot in common with us. And we are happy to work with our GP allies to make sure that our customers, our joint customers who want to stay on GP, can continue to invest in that solution and roll their businesses forward.
This sounds like a big announcement. I mean, you're talking about serious functional investments and serious product investments to make this happen.
Yeah, it really is complicated.
Yeah.
But once you see the demo, it's very straightforward. You see our primary Salespad order and customer management screen, and then you've got the Key to Act screens kind of sitting on top that you can pin right to the desktop and make sure that when you're fulfilling a sales order or maybe a purchase order, that line items or the order itself can go to a specific job and specific cost codes or a specific service management call. Behind the scenes, it's very complicated, way over my head, but training wise and deployment wise, it's very straightforward and very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I think when we look at this, a lot of customers that are using Key2Act already and then are also using Cavallo or looking at Cavallo have said that putting in those job codes at the very end or after the project was complete was really cumbersome. But by having those screens right there on either the sales order, which is your revenue side, or the purchase order, which is your cost side, putting those in exactly when you take and are touching that order allows you to not only make sure that you're always tracking it, not missing it, but it also gives you this opportunity to look back into Key2Act and see, how is my job going? How is my service management going? Like, how are those, are we being profitable at this particular point in time? And that's really powerful for people because if you're in the trenches, your boss is going to be asking you day in and day out, how is that job going out at the airport? And if you don't have all that information already typed in, it can take you quite a bit of time. And so by doing it all right up front, it's just a huge time saver.
Yeah, I mean, I have to imagine that, for companies sort of looking at what the value of GP is, I mean, a lot of the value now is largely, a result of investments like this, where you can advance your sort of business through these sort of specialized expert capabilities that aren't necessarily, core to GP. And I guess that's one of the big stories of the overarching stories of GP's success over the years. I mean, it was clear since I started covering it, which was, 15 years ago, so much of the success was built on the efforts of vendors like, Cavallo and like probably WennSoft and many others who had that expertise on top of it. So it wasn't like the core ERP was enabling it, but it certainly wasn't the full story for most clients.
A lot of our customers ended up purchasing our offerings because they liked what our subject matter expertise was around, say, distribution, and ditto for WennSoft. Their job cost and service management expertise is really excellent. And that's what ultimately sold Dynamics GP. So having deep operational module experience, customers customize it so that they've got it working the way they want it to follow their processes. And there's no reason to leave that for something else, Yeah.
Do you think about what GP's outlook says about the way that you're developing, or maybe vice versa, the way you're developing kind of, impacts or is in response to what you're seeing with Microsoft and their guidance on GP?
That's a really good question. And trying to figure out Microsoft's guidance around GP and the future. Look, it's challenging. They've put out a roadmap, right? Saying they will continue to support GP and roll out new functionality until at least 2028, if not later. They promoted it recently from the fixed lifecycle policy to the modern lifecycle policy, which means, there are trade-offs there. You have to upgrade more frequently than in the old days. But Microsoft has committed as part of the modern lifecycle policy to add new functionality with each release. So customers, and there's a lot of noise out there, right? You know it, I know it, we all know it. There's a lot of noise around when GP is coming to an end, but you look at Microsoft's roadmap and what they're saying as relates to the fixed lifecycle policy, and we'll see another release in October of this year and another one with new functionality in 2024 and 2025. So for the foreseeable future, Microsoft has made a nice commitment to Dynamics GP. So existing customers don't have to worry. And I can tell you, and so can Joe, that our CEO, Mike Bewer, has made a commitment to our GP customers and to the ecosystem as a whole that we will be here and will support this core application for as long as our customers want to be on it. So, and anyone who knows my GP background knows that that's important to me. I've talked to Mike about this 100 times if I've talked to him about it once, and if he wasn't as concrete in that messaging as he has been, I probably wouldn't be here, but he is. And it's great. It's great. We can continue to support our GP customers a long way down the road. Many of them are happy with where they're at and do not plan to move, at least anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, I think just like you said, we've shown we're committed to GP. We have a lot of customers using GP and continue to build out a roadmap for that, continue to integrate with great partners like WennSoft. I think the other thing too is earlier you're talking about Microsoft's guidance on there, and they're talking about supporting to 2028 and beyond. If you look at a lot of other companies out there with their ERP systems, they may have a 1-year roadmap or a 2-year roadmap. Talking about the fact that they're doing it to 2028 and beyond should make you feel incredibly secure that this is a long-standing platform. And as such, Cavallo's committed the same thing. And Mike's got some nice blogs out there about it, and we talk about it every day.
I mean, does it make sense to talk at all here about your longer term outlook on order management with GP? Joe, do you?
Sure.
I don't know if that's on topic or if that's too far along.
Yeah. I mean, I think for us, our OMS and being the best in the world at supporting GP for OMS is kind of what we hang our hat on. And we really take care of everything from when an order comes into the system until you receive cash at the end. And so that starts off with having some kind of intake stage where an order comes in from your omnichannel system. You then have some pre-processing steps that you're going through. Maybe you're doing a credit review, margin review. And we're enabling all these things I kind of talk about here with our workflow product so that at the end of the day, everything's automated. And that's a major step forward and things that many ERPs cannot do. So you think about it, if Jason, you happen to not come into work today, would orders still go out? Well, with our system, with our workflow piece, everything is really automated. And so, it comes in that order stage. We do a couple of pre-processing checks, and then you get into really deciding how you're going to do some allocations. And in particular, like before you do those allocations, are you going to split your document apart? Are you going to split it apart because you have a back order, or because maybe you're shipping from multiple different warehouses, or maybe one of them's a hot rush order, or something's a drop ship, or go on and on. All of these scenarios play out for us kind of in that whole allocation step. And then the last part for us is really the fulfillment step. And so kind of thinking about, when you're picking, you're packing, and you're shipping, you got to print some materials that you might want to put in your box. You got to print a packing slip. You might want to email the customer. You might want to communicate back through EDI or through e-commerce or to a sales rep. All of these steps are all become automated. The only thing that really doesn't become automated is somebody does have to pick it off the shelf. But when you think about a complete OMS, that's what we talk about. That's what we hang our hat on.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things this makes me think of is just as time moves along and organizations sort of look to how they need to modernize, this seems like, these are the kinds of things that a modern business sort of has to be able to support. Is our GP customers asking for these kinds of capabilities? I guess the reason I ask is they're on an older ERP solution. Yes, it works and it serves them very well and it's a trusted system, but it's an older system. So when you're bringing more automation in, is that something that they're really looking to bring in to enhance what they do today?
Definitely. I mean, we have requests all the time for us to continue to upgrade, our e-commerce integrations, our EDI integrations. One other piece that's on a roadmap that I didn't talk about earlier was that we have a lot of people that go out there and are trying to configure complex products. And so with that, they have a scenario where they might be configuring complex doors or even like something more simplistic like a football helmet. And with that, we used to only support doing distribution bombs, and now we're supporting doing that with native GP kits and packages. And so with that, a good example is if you want to build out a football helmet, what kind of face mask do you have? What kind of helmet do you have? What kind of paint color? All of these things go together to build an item that goes into the system. And so what does this all equal? This all equals being able to enter an order faster, more efficiently, and in a consistent manner. So you get past this scenario where only one or two people know how to run the system because literally every part of the system is automated in one fashion or another.
Let me add to that by saying that while the system is, quote, older or doesn't have the so-called modern interface that's so fashionable, the fact is our customers are asking for more automation, more functionality, more connections, right? We're writing connectors for Shopify and WooCommerce and FedEx and Thomson Reuters and Avalara. The WennSoft connector is like the newest of so many that customers are asking about. We're getting inquiries about EDI all the time, and our relationship with SPS Commerce is really solid. So yes, existing customers want more automation, and they're asking us to to add things to Cavallo Salespad all the time. We have numerous requests and we're keeping up with them as best we can.
I imagine you're also getting those kinds of ideas, requests from your implementation partners, or from GP implementation partners too. They're the ones sort of having, I assume, conversations with the end users and looking for ways to better position them, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Our reseller partners are our best advocates out in the space, and we're working overtime here to make sure that we are not only meeting but exceeding their expectations. They're out finding prospects for us in the Dynamics GP space, or they're talking to existing customers who maybe haven't leveraged our offerings before, or maybe aren't leveraging all of them to get the most out of their Dynamics GP system, which many of them plan to keep. So yeah, we value our reseller partners. I've been a partner a couple of times in my career, so I've sat in that chair, and I know that the relationship between ISVs and partners is important, and that customer expectations are also important, and ISVs and reseller partners can work together to make sure customers' businesses are humming right along and growing and scaling as expected.
So is there anything else we want to talk about in terms of, product roadmap or what's coming up next for Cavallo's GP offerings before I know we want to talk a little bit about looking to the future for, events and community activities too.
So yeah, a couple things. So over the years, the old Salespad Desktop received new functionality all the time. Anything that was developed by our amazing development team, and they are amazing. They're going 100 miles an hour every day, it seems. Anything that was developed went into for all intents and purposes, went into the product formerly known as Salespad Desktop. And over time, that box got fuller and fuller. And we took a look at it and we're like, gee, there's so much in there. There's so much value and so much functionality. What if we broke that box up into pieces? What if we decoupled the old desktop and put out individual modules for sale? Like, some customers just want our CRM so they can manage prospects and opportunities and their pipeline. Other customers just wanted workflow so they could manage documents and processes throughout their business the right way the first time. So rather than put everything into one box, if you will, we broke it up into individual pieces, and now you can come to Cavallo Salespad and buy individual modules based on your requirements or what you're looking to improve with your Dynamics GP business. One of those components is relatively new. It's our process analytics, which ties directly into our workflow. So if you're running our workflow or have contemplated running our workflow engine, and you've set up your queues or the steps that a document takes to go through a business, you can now leverage our process analytics, which looks at that workflow automation engine and lets you see where documents are in the process of going through your business. So if you're having a problem at the end of the day with shipping because, the carriers are coming at a certain time and things get backed up at that same time of the day, or there's a problem with credit or something to that effect along that process, the process analytics will show you where things are moving along as they should be and where they're not moving along, so you can allocate resources to that area and solve problems before they get out of hand. So we've broken up our products into smaller pieces, and now customers running Dynamics GP that want to buy specific pieces of functionality can do that instead of having this great big box we once called desktop in their environment. So it's it's nicely done.
And if I can add on to that, I think what we saw a lot of times is that our desktop product does so much. And for any particular customer, just to ballpark it, they were using, 20% of what we do. Everyone's using the OMS pieces and the workflow pieces, but not everyone was using everything else that we do. And so by breaking it up, it really helped make it be a more consumable bite for people to have. And even today, we're, taking it a step further with, some starter bundles that we have out there that really help people. In particular, we just created a nice starter bundle for both our EDI and for our e-commerce people that want to start just using EDI or just using e-commerce and our workflow engine. And so I just love that direction of making it, making the package fit for what the customer really needs and not having to be everything that we do out there.
All right. Very interesting. Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about what you are looking ahead to in terms of events, engagement with the community. I know you had at least a couple of things sort of top of mind.
Yeah. So DynamicsCon Live, of which I'm a member of the advisory board and proud to do so. Molly and Liz, as we all know, are doing a great job, and that's not news, is coming up in Scottsdale, Arizona, the week of May 22nd. So we're doing a Cavallo Day specifically for Dynamics GP end users on May 22nd, which is a Monday. So if you're coming out to the desert for DynamicsCon Live, and of course there's plenty of good GP material that I've helped put together with some friends on the programming committee there. You can spend a half day with us during Cavallo Day on Monday, May 22nd, and get a little additional Dynamics GP training and knowledge just prior to DynamicsCon Live kicking off the next day. So we're excited about that, to hitch our wagon, if you will, to DynamicsCon Live, an event series that is growing nicely. We're really quite proud of the progress that group has made in the past few years.
Absolutely. And I have to just say, and when it comes to sort of bigger Dynamics events like that, the GP segment of the attendance at these events, they're always the most, they're always partying the most, they're always the most friendly, the most communal, I guess you would say, is the most sort of community facing, all sort of getting together with each other way more. I mean, it's not even a contest usually for who the liveliest group. It's always the GP.
That's right. They are advancing their networking opportunities as best they can every time.
Yeah, it's so funny for someone like me who sort of who knows people across various products, and I look in a bar or I'll look in at a reception or something, and I can immediately see who that group is.
Yep. Yes, you can indeed.
So putting an event at DynamicsCon. I'm also, I should mention to the listeners, I'm also on that advisory committee with you, Bob. But putting a pre-day or another added event on there makes a lot of sense. Should be good.
Sure does.
And then we have another event too, probably, thing that we're even more excited about is our own event. And so in August 7th to the 9th, we always host it in Grand Rapids. We have our Panels 23 event, and just a great user conference where we invite our customers, VARs out there, and then some really fantastic keynote speakers. And I can tell you, if you go to a conference, our food, our drinks, our activities, and really the presentations are top notch. Last year, I was kind of just blown away with how interesting some of our keynotes were. And then additionally, just the conversations that we had here. And, our sessions are really around trying to be informative. It's not to sell you each one of our different SKUs. It's to have you talk about a particular topic. Maybe that's AI, maybe that's analytics, maybe that's how to, compete with Amazon with 2-day shipping. And so those are the types of topics that we have when you come to our event. And I've never had a more successful event that I've been a part of than the panels events.
All right. Excellent.
Yeah. You can count, Jason, on one hand how many GP ISVs are big enough to hold their own customer event each year. And Cavallo is one of them. And as Joe said, we do it right. Everything is top notch, and we want to make sure our customers are well educated on how to best run their businesses, or learning what we're doing for them and what's coming new, and making sure that their expectations are being met. So the panels event in Grand Rapids will be August 7th, 8th, and 9th, and registration will be open soon if it's not already. And we are excited to welcome our customers and our partners and our ISV Alliance partners to Grand Rapids once again. It was a great time last year, and it's going to be even bigger and better in 2023.
All right. Excellent. Yeah. And Joe, you just touched on, this is something we could keep this conversation going throughout the year. And I'd love to catch up again on this, but some of these topics that you just raised, commerce, competing with Amazon, where AI technology is really ready to be applied in different businesses today. These are things that they're going to be top of mind all year long. And I think any chance that businesses have, GP users included, to really hash that out, hear from other people, I think is super valuable this year, because those are really sort of unanswered questions for so many firms. So great to hear that that's on your minds as well. All right. Well, it's been a great conversation. Thank you both so much for joining. A lot of fun. I'll have to have you back sometime. And certainly I want to keep up to date on what your product roadmap's looking like and all these partnerships and announcements that you have coming out. So thanks again.
Thanks for having us, Jason.
Yes, thanks, Jason. Always a pleasure.
This has been another episode of the MSDW podcast. My thanks once again to Joe and Bob for joining me today. And this message from Cavallo. For those of you interested in joining Cavallo in Scottsdale, as we mentioned on the episode, head on over to the website to learn more and secure your spot. Visit cavallo.com/Scottsdale. If you have any other questions about what you heard today, you can send an email to joe.alt, that's joe.alt, @cavallo.com. And that's it for today's episode. If you want to get in touch with me, you can send me an email, jgumpert@msdynamicsworld.com. For all of our updates, please do follow us on LinkedIn or on Twitter. And until next time, this is MS Dynamics World, signing off.